Good morning, Mark, or good evening, Mark. How are you?
Pretty good. I just finished eating a super spicy late night meal, so my entire face may become gradually less red as our talk goes on today.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm sorry about I was late because I don't know, just all the stuff going on. But anyway, here we are.
Yes, we made it. Yeah. So how were your goals this week, or what were your goals? I don't even remember.
I think the goal was to get the boot camp ready for review. I'm still on the exact same page that I was on the last time we spoke, so I did not achieve that goal. But it's not like I haven't been working on that page. I have been working on it for like 2 hours every day.
Nice.
It's just really difficult to write. Just I don't know. Just some stuff is just difficult to write. That's just I guess it's
Makes sense.
pivotal. It's sort of it's the marketing. It's the marketing
Yeah.
page,
Well, we've
and
we've had 2 weeks too because I missed last one for my birthday.
I know. By the way, happy birthday,
Thank you much.
21.
Now
How does it feel to be
40,
21?
42.
What?
That's
Oh my gosh.
the Hitchhiker's Guide number. So
So finally
it's
you
quite a
do
big
have the
one.
meaning to life.
I don't have the question. I think
Oh
that's the
yeah.
whole thing. But yeah, it was a good time. I went out with a bunch of my friends and we went to a Richao restaurant, which is like a kind of restaurant in Taiwan. Had lots of seafood and veggies and kung pao chicken and beer, and I was there for like 3 hours or something. And it was just feast and it was great.
Beer
And
and
oh yeah,
beer
yeah, they have
and
lots
beer.
of beer there. Well, and because it was like a big group of my friends, and it was two of our birthdays, and we were there for a while. Some other people at the restaurant realized, oh, there's this whole table of foreigners that speak Mandarin, and some of them also speak Taiwanese, and so they started coming over and cheersing us, and it extended the evening. It was I would say they probably hit the jackpot in terms of foreigners that they don't need to use English with.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah, it
hilarious.
was fun. It was fun.
Oh, I'm
Um,
glad you had a good time.
yeah, yeah, and then actually I had another outing later after that, also related to my birthday. So I've been basically a hermit for more than a month, and then all of a sudden this past week it's been a little bit wild. So
And was that with masks or without masks?
that was without masks.
And
That'd be
so
how would you eat like with the you like go under the mask or something?
that's a good point. Okay, how about social distancing? Was it with social distancing or without social distancing?
No, it was like like
Everyone's just having a good time.
60-year-old Taiwanese guys coming up, be like, hey, and like pat me on the shoulder and like cheers me. There was no distance at all.
Okay.
So it was yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think there hasn't been a single new case in Taiwan for like 45 days now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
Huh.
mean, there were only like 350 ish total ever, and most of that because like here, it like there were people, Taiwanese people that left Wuhan and came back to Taiwan like way at the beginning before anyone had it in the U.S. or even Europe. So like Taiwan like got it really quickly, but the vice president is an epidemiologist, and it's like really competent response. And yeah, like I don't know what's going to happen as far as travel. Like that's the big thing that's a little crazy. Like one of my friends, French guy who runs a site kind of like mine, was in Singapore for 3 months visiting his girlfriend, and he just came back to Taiwan, and he's in like a mandatory quarantine now with like the cell phone tracking I told you about a couple episodes ago.
And so, would he be in quarantine in his own apartment, or would he be in quarantine in one of like a government facility?
So that was actually a big deal. He could be in his own apartment, except he has roommates, and he does have his own room and his own shower, but like all the it would be a kind of a pain, and his roommates weren't really into that. So he's at a quarantine facility, and he has to
Interesting.
pay like 10,000 Taiwanese, which is like $330 for 2 weeks to stay there, and they deliver food, and he gets like a small stipend
Now,
for
with
staying there.
that in that quarantine setup, is he with other people? I mean, does it increase his
No,
risk of
no,
getting it?
no, no,
Oh,
just by
okay.
himself.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I think his odds of having it are super low to begin with. Like in Singapore, they're like the numbers. If you look at like any of the big tracker sites, the numbers did go up a lot, and it's kind of a sad thing. But it was all the migrant worker population. Like there are a lot of workers from Southeast Asia that have they're basically just put into these like company dorms with like 10 or 12 people in bunks in a room, and a lot of those people got sick, and there were a lot of quarantines, and I'm sure like the government responded, and I'm sure like Taiwan was like looking at this happening in Singapore. I was like, shoot, we gotta
So it really
like we
is
gotta look
about
at what we're doing. um, but
proximity, isn't it?
yeah,
Proximity.
but in Singapore, like they also have like very advanced contact tracing and all the things I told you about that Taiwan's doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So despite that issue, the main population has had like almost none, and I think there are only like 3 deaths. There's like under 5 deaths total. So in Singapore, so um, like the treatment and the handling has been good. So my buddy was not very. I mean, he was almost no. Like I if I had to bet, I would say there's like a 1 in 100,000 or 1 in 1 million chance that he is infected right now. But he's got to do the quarantine because he just came in
Yeah.
from abroad. But the thing some people were talking about is like, when are they going to free travel? Like because he's a permanent resident of Taiwan, which is why he was able to come back.
Yeah.
But no tourist can come here, and so like
Yeah.
there are people talking like, are they going to do some
So that must be
reciprocal opening up maybe with like New
yeah.
Zealand and.
Does any like I guess it must be a certain percentage of GDP relies on tourism.
Yeah, tourism, like they were trying to grow it in Taiwan. It's never been huge because it's an island. It's more difficult for tourists. Um, it's the bigger thing I think is like all the tech conferences and expos and stuff like
Yeah.
that,
Right.
and like those are pretty big. And I'm sure there's got to be pressure to start resuming those as
Isn't
soon
that
as
isn't that tourism, or is that classed as something different?
it's like business conferences, like trade shows and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen long term, but like I'm in this little bubble of stability here where
Yeah.
I've seen no effects, which is it's got to sound weird to you being in California, which has seen quite a few,
Uh-huh. And America, and I mean,
just in general. Yeah,
the whole place is burning to the ground right now with the
I
whole
know,
George Floyd stuff.
I know. I mean, first of all, it's just depressing because I was hearing about similar kinds of stories like as a kid in the 90s, and it's
Yeah.
still like the
S-
same
Still
thing.
goes on. Yeah.
And it's yeah, like it's just so messed up for so long, and like I never thought this would still be the same kind of thing happening. And it it also like makes me think about Taiwan. Like their political situation here is I would say the political environment is also very it's very charged
Mm.
because it's kind of a delicate balance to keep the status quo as far as China is concerned. And there are it's kind of like an existential thing every election, and like there are a lot of organizations, like a lot of marches, and amazingly, I think Taiwan is like both less violent and freer in terms of political demonstrations. It's one of those things. Like, I mean, I grew up in the U.S. and I do care for the U.S. quite a bit, but it's one of those things where it's really frustrating. Where I was like, here paying, you know, 12% of my income to in taxes. We get like amazing transportation, like public health care, like all these things. And when I was in the US, I was paying like 45%, or I don't know how much when I was in California. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think
no
it's
health
35.
care. And
Yeah.
but there was like San Francisco plus state plus, it was a
Oh
lot.
wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I would like ride the BART, because I lived in West Oakland. I have to ride the BART into San Francisco every day, and I was like, it's like this is like a really crummy version of
It's
the
weird. I
MRT in
don't
Taiwan.
understand how they screwed it up so much. I mean, it's the same in the UK. It's like, you pay like what 20% tax or something like that, and you have healthcare, and it's
But
weird.
you
It's
do
just
have it in the UK, but you don't in the US. I
yeah,
mean,
that's what I'm
it's
saying.
all
Yeah,
based on your
so
company.
no, I'm saying UK is the same as Taiwan. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
saying, like I know what it's like, and it sort of makes me think, what? How did they manage to screw it up
It's
so
like, well, it's like
much?
what are they doing with all the resources? And it's it's
Well,
frustrating, but
it's go to the military basically, right?
any even like the thing that's really maddening, and I've heard some about this because my mom's a doctor. The amount that Americans spend, like that governments spend in the U.S., like state government, national government, is more per person than many other countries that have nationalized healthcare. It just we get less. And same kind of thing with education. Like nobody spends
Very
more
strange.
on K through 12 education, but if you look at like the median student, it's the U.S. is kind of like middle of the road for developed countries. It's not like it's not outstanding like actually like it is here in Taiwan, or would be in Singapore, or a number of other places. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's one of those thorny things that I hope
That we
gets
probably
better.
shouldn't be talking about on our podcast.
We can cut a lot of this, I
No, it's
guess.
fine. I don't mind to leave it
Yeah,
in.
I mean, I said what I think, and I don't think it's anything
No,
that
not at
that
all.
out there.
No, no, no. The only reason why, and I'm happy, super happy to leave it in. The only reason why is just maybe it's just boring for some people if they come to listen to tech or tech
Yeah,
updates. That's the only reason, not because we said anything incendiary or something like that. But no, I sort of think you do have to like acknowledge that business is different. I mean, the simple fact is, I don't know what's happened to the world, but with George Floyd and with coronavirus, like there's major stuff going on where the whole system that we participate in, it's just different for entrepreneurs now. Like we have to negotiate it, so we have to think about it. So at least we have to mention it. you
yeah,
know.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any expertise in any of this. Just observations, but it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
it
I
is
mean,
crazy. And like this normally, like any other year, I would be back there visiting either right now or 3 months ago.
I remember reading that a lot of, I think Google and a couple of other companies came out of
Hmm.
two came out of 2009. Like everything, the whole everything went to shit, right? And
99, you mean?
was it what?
Well,
Sorry, yeah,
Google's
yeah, 19,
yeah,
yeah. So
Google's
the
old.
first 2001, the first, which was the first bubble? Was that 2001?
Yeah,
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 yeah. So everything went to shit. That was when Boo.com happened, and then the whole market crashed through the floor. And every only a few companies were able to weather it through that and become big companies. And it's almost in a sense those companies were forged because of it in a way. And I wonder if anything like that will happen out of the weird situation we're in now. But the thing that I don't understand is why isn't the stock market crashing? Like
I
that
heard your
makes
last texting podcast. I thought
yeah.
that was nuts. I would not. I would not have been making a leverage bet on the timing of the market.
Yeah, well,
Glad it worked out okay. But
yeah, he worked out okay. Yeah,
lots of brilliant people have had catastrophic ruin that way.
but I'm just surprised that it's not. I mean, I guess I know it's because of Trump. He's just some.
Um,
He's the the showman or
he
whatever.
wants he wants the stock market to stay up, but I think there are a lot of
Yeah.
things like just in terms of what happens when there's a big shock in the U.S. It's really different from what you'd see in other countries. Like normally the currency would have already lost a lot of value, but the U.S. is so big, and the U.S. dollar is reserve currency. So as a result, like there's a shock in the U.S. and that actually causes pain elsewhere in the world as well. And then everyone wants to flee to safety, which is the U.S. dollar. So I mean, like it can't go that way forever, but there is this weird counterintuitive thing where instead of the currency or the capital markets getting worse, like new money comes in as a flee to safety.
Mm. Yeah, so it's interesting.
Yeah, like I'm actually I'm actually thinking we are going to see more inflation. Like
Oh, you think we
not
will?
immediately, but I think because there's only so much financial manipulation you can do. And if you're not making new stuff, you don't have new stuff.
Well, that's what Elon
You know,
Musk said. He said, there's no magic horn of plenty. So you can't just keep on just sort of giving out money, and then like at some point the system crumbles.
was that to get his factory open, or was that just about
No,
the
he was
stimulus?
just talking about the stimulus and just general stuff. But yeah, I mean, he obviously does want to get his factory open. But
Yeah. That was so. The reaction of that was really interesting to me because the other car factories were opened, and they were all way less automated than Tesla. And Tesla had also successfully, reopened their Shanghai factory. So I was surprised at how acrimonious that became. Like I was surprised that there was such a difficulty opening, and then also that it
saw a
devolved
lot
into
of
like
Hacker News users. I said this on texting, so you probably already heard. But I saw a lot of Hacker News users say, "I'll never buy a Tesla now."
yeah
And
it's
people who said I was a classic Tesla fanboy, I've completely changed my opinion. I will now never buy a Tesla, which
I've
is
heard some podcasters say that too, and I think that's a little bit nuts because I think
right.
like someone's like he's got a Twitter problem for sure.
Yeah.
I heard somewhere like Inbian might have been part of that. I don't know, but like Tesla is that's why Ford and other companies are making electric vehicles seriously now. And even if you buy another electric vehicle, you're probably going to be using batteries or charging stations from Tesla. I don't
I
know.
think it's because people have take the coronavirus stuff very seriously, and it's taking a big toll on people. Like I've been a shut-in for 4 months, and so then
Right.
essentially, so people are feeling real stress about that, and then he's basically saying, no, it's all it's not serious. The numbers aren't real, and I think then it's sort of making people feel like, well, wait a second. You know what I mean? I'm taking this seriously. I've put myself out majorly, and
Yeah.
you're just saying you're essentially saying I'm done.
I was
I
yeah.
think
So
that
I
might be why
definitely
they're so
and I
angry.
definitely disagree with his opinion on that. Like I was kind of yelling at people on indie hackers in March, like don't go to conferences in Mexico. Like Cortland was like going to a conference. And I was like, what did Mexico do to you? Like, why are you doing like leaving this place with an outbreak, California at that time? And people are still talking about like South by Southwest. So I totally think, you got to take it seriously. And he is way too dismissive. And also I think
Yeah.
there's something about like the way he's wired where he just does not process fear like the normal way. Like the whole like the reason why there is a Tesla and SpaceX still when like they should have like a normal entrepreneur would have just been like, okay, I just have to sacrifice one of them instead of I'll put 100% of my own net worth back into it and like try to make them survive in 2008. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
that makes no
he's
sense.
wired in a I think he's not wired like a normal person, and I also think that's good for us. Like I'm happy having more eco-friendly vehicles and space flight that's also more eco-friendly. Like reuse the rocket, like that's good news right now.
I
We saw
mean,
the
God,
launch.
like getting two people into orbit, just crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's so much cheaper. Like the thing about SpaceX that's amazing is like they're putting people they're basically doing the same things that governments are doing and doing it way cheaper.
Yeah.
So
Way cheaper.
hooray for
So
that.
so yeah, well, how about you? Okay, so that's a good preamble,
Yes, a
good
ramble.
intro talk. So how about your projects and what's going on with you? Goals and
Let's
stuff.
see. So 2 weeks ago, I was sort of productive.
Yeah,
What was
you
I
nailed
doing?
it the last time we spoke.
Yeah, I also had a cool experience. I was watching a different podcast that I like called Does Not Compute. They started streaming on Twitch,
Okay.
and I was watching their Twitch stream, and then they initiated a raid on another channel. Did I tell you this before?
No, and what does it mean?
Okay, so a raid is it's basically when you are running a Twitch stream and you end the stream and send everyone to another channel.
Okay.
So they just started Twitch streaming recently, so it was like a raid where four of us showed up from the end of his podcast over to another channel, and that channel there was someone who was writing some new app and was using Elixir along with other things. And I got the coolest reception I've ever had in my life. He was like, it's like, oh, oh, you're like, yeah, that's the actual alchemist camp. It's just like
That's
it was
nice. That's
cool.
awesome.
Like just being recognized, and
You're a celebrity, man.
I know that people are reading my tutorials and watching my screencasts. So that was probably led to zero new customers, but it was cool. So I clipped that. Let's see. I've been super good on the physical goals. Ran 4 times this week, and did a day of lifting as well. So
Nice.
and last week I think it was like 3 and 2. So it's like 5 days of exercise, 2 weeks in a row. That one's knocked out of the park. The next thing actually, I should add on like another goal on top of that, like focus on health in terms of like nutrition, which has been a difficult thing now that this habit's locked in.
Yeah.
But I feel good about the progress though. Just like I just want to go out and exercise most days now.
Well done, man. That's good.
Not the case 6 months ago. Let's see. Been working on the contract. And then this week, I've been pretty bad on getting stuff done for Alchemist Camp or Phoenix Igniter. I've basically had birthday parties, and I've gotten too dragged into those books I bought after the Phoenix Igniter launch.
Oh.
The Rust WebAssembly book, a new book on Elixir, and then a book on like open source development and contribution in general. I've read more than half of all 3 books, and I've been writing a lot of Rust WebAssembly code, but nothing that any of my projects need right now.
Okay.
So,
Well,
how about yourself?
At least you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, and I think WebAssembly is going to be a really, really, really big deal. So I think this is like kind of long-term investment, but it's not strategic. It's just like, ooh, new book. Let me play with this.
Especially for the games and stuff. Like WebAssembly could be amazing for that, right?
Yeah, well, I think for games, I think for a lot of like library, like front end library code. I think.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. So you can hook into it with the front end library.
Yeah.
So can you
actually,
like interface to regular JavaScript?
So let me tell you about the tooling that exists with Rust for WebAssembly.
Okay.
This is nuts. It's like there's so Rust has this tool called Cargo, which is it's kind of like npm is for Node, or I don't know. There's one for PHP too, but most languages have these. So there is a setup so you can type in like, I want a WebAssembly bindgen project, and it will just spit out a whole bunch of tooling for you. And there's certain command line tools you can run that will do the generation of the front end part of it. So you can write a bunch of code in Rust, you can define a few interfaces, and then it will generate the WebAssembly for you, and it will generate the JavaScript that you need to interface with that WebAssembly. And it'll actually be TypeScript with like really nicely annotated types and well-chosen ones, and classes and things that like fit based on the structure of your Rust program, because Rust is so strongly typed. It's got a lot of information to work with when generating the TypeScript.
That's pretty cool.
It's
does
mind-blowing.
Does WebAssembly have access to like native stuff in the system?
So it's in a sandbox, but there is going to be some access. So there'll be permissions, and like you should be able to access someone's USB drive or something like that if they
what is the main use case of WebAssembly versus raw Java? Like, so if I understand correctly, JavaScript is interpreted, and then so it's interpreted and then it does stuff. WebAssembly is much closer to the core of the computer, the CPU, and so therefore you can get like 10x the speed of instructions if you go through WebAssembly. Is that correct?
You can get a performance improvement for sure.
Like, is it just a small improvement, or is it like an exponential improvement?
It can be really significant for some things.
So what is it like? Why would you choose it? Why would you choose WebAssembly? What kind of app?
Figma Figma is the one that does it. That's like it's like Sketch or Photoshop for vector graphics in the browser.
That makes sense.
Their performance is fantastic, and they got a big improvement in performance when they started using a lot of WebAssembly.
Okay.
Another thing that it can be used for is it can be used to take advantage of the fact that it is in a sandbox. Like you can write things in WebAssembly and be sure there isn't going to be like a whole class of exploits that you could get with JavaScript.
Does it also help you with things like how when you're working in a browser, you're sort of sharing the time slicing with other tabs, and it can kind of slow things down. Like that's why you can't write. That's why set timeout doesn't actually work like you think it works. So you might say set timeout. Ping me in 1 second. Actually, it might ping you in 1.003 seconds because some other thing on the computer slowed it down. I'm wondering, does it get you over that problem?
Well, no, because first of all, WebAssembly doesn't have to run in the browser. It can run like an Internet of Things. It can run like lots of different environments.
Interesting. Okay.
If you're running it in the browser, though, your browser is going to be, it's going to be up to the browser to decide when to give what processor cycles, right?
So it's still the same.
It's still that kind of thing. But so some things you could do with WebAssembly is, so WebAssembly is super, super low level. It only has 4 data types. And it's basically like an int 32, an int 64, a float 32, and a float 64. JavaScript doesn't have integers. So anything with integer calculations,
oh wow,
you've got a big reason to use WebAssembly.
Yeah.
Another thing about it
so all
is
the signal processing stuff and audio stuff and image manipulation and
and it's all stack. So it's stack based, and there's contiguous memory. So you can say exactly where in memory you want to put something. And it gives you a level of control you don't have in JavaScript, which means you can make a much smaller program. And I told you, so one of the things in that book was a checkers program, and I went through that, and I made a checkers program that was it included most of the basic rules, no AI, but just like the rules for it, and it was only 900 and some bytes, like less than 1 kilobyte, which
That's
is
awesome
nuts.
that you're just totally. That's like me getting obsessed with Skyblocks and just like becoming addicted to gaming and not putting any of my time into, making money work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Well,
I get it.
the
Sometimes
thing
you need playtime. You need playtime. That's the thing.
the thing about this, and I will probably never write anything that big in WebAssembly again, because it's so low level. It's just ridiculous and it's painful. But having a different language like C++ or preferably Rust generate the WebAssembly,
Yeah.
that's great. It's not going to be quite as small as like what I did, because you still have to bring in like a minimal amount of things, even for a low language like C++ or Rust, in order to have it functional with WebAssembly. But you can make very small, very fast executables, and say if you're making a library that involves a lot of integer calculations for some reason. And maybe all of the users of the library are JavaScript programmers, right? Like they don't know WebAssembly, they don't know Rust, they just use JavaScript. If you can make a library that has the exact same interface for the JavaScript programmer, the same JavaScript functions available, and it runs way faster, why not? Right? Like why will most library code not be made with WebAssembly eventually?
Yeah. I don't know.
So it's
That makes sense. Like it seems like it's going to happen. And
for
so
infrastructure,
with the
not
web,
for applications.
so just to be clear, that gets downloaded via the web the same way as JavaScript or HTML or whatever. Your program that runs WebAssembly.
Yeah. So you make if you write WebAssembly directly, it would be a WAT file.
Okay.
But when you compile that, or when you compile Rust or something else to WebAssembly, you have a .wasm file, and browsers can run that.
Okay. Cool.
So it's a fun thing, and maybe I will, maybe next year I'll actually make a tutorial for Alchemist Camp subscribers that's related to it.
Yeah. So just moving back to my goals.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm in a holding pattern. Like I know exactly what needs to be done. I know exactly how to do it. So I need to finish the boot camp. Once the boot camp is finished, then I will launch it on Product Hunt. But also I need to get some people to review it first. And then, the goal is that that will be available for free with a one-click social login to get access to it. And then, there will also be a path to sign up to the Academy. Now, it's just taken a lot longer than I thought. In retrospect, it would have been faster to work on TaskFlow, because you know what? The difference between coding and writing content is, with coding, you kind of can just take 15 minutes and just work on one little feature. And it's really easy. And so you can just sort of quickly context switch into the zone, knock something out, then go back and, take the trash out or something. But it's really, really difficult with content creation, content writing.
Really?
I mean, I don't know about video stuff, but say what?
Really? That's kind of surprising to me.
I just find it so, because with, let me just give you an example. So, what I'm working on right now is marketing. So just going to open this up. Yeah, so basically I'm working on this lesson, which is market. Pick a market that you can reach and sell to. And the essence of the the essence of the lesson is that if you pick markets that you are, if you just sort of build something because you think it's cool and you go out and try and make money from it, there's so many unknowns there, because if you don't know the market, you're kind of at a real disadvantage. But if you know the market, you know, if you are the market, it puts you at a huge advantage. Or if you learn the market really well. And so there's just a lot of things to know about about marketing. Like, so and I split the lesson up into these three concepts. So first of all, you know, three level ups. You know, one is get the people. You've got to know how to get the people. So you know how to get the people. You know,
people
you have experience of getting some people, right? A lot of founders just, this is where I see a lot of people get stuck. They just don't get any people. They sort of just don't get the people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, my buddy is like that. I have two friends that made this crazy, well done, like tutorial for people learning TypeScript, like learning to program with HTML, CSS, and TypeScript. And they've got like this, like a code editor built into it based off of the same Monaco library VS Code used. They have like stuff that's like checking their code, and all. It's just amazing. Like they have, both of them like worked on it for months, and they've made one sale from a person they met at a meetup in real life, and like nobody else since, and they get no traffic. It's heartbreaking.
I mean, making sales is even more advanced than just getting the people. So I sort of see the level one of like the level up game of like being an indie founder is like just level one. Can you get people? Forget about sales, just traffic. Forget about sales. Forget about anything else.
That's what they need.
Can you just get traffic? And there's different, you know, I remember when I started out, like the way that I got traffic was I started by blogging. You know, I put some blogs out, and then podcasting, and then just different things, SEO, you know, just practicing different things. That was getting traffic.
Was Twitter a big part for you?
Twitter. I mean, yeah, there's, you know,
just all this stuff. Okay.
All the stuff. Basically, just getting people, get the people. Now that you know, that doesn't really get you to profit, but at least that's the soil. It's like, without the soil, you can't grow a plant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's sort of the first part of this lesson, and it's turned out to be quite a big lesson. So get the people. Then the next part. Oh, go on. Yeah.
So why is it that you need a bigger chunk of time for writing the lesson than you do for programming?
Well, okay. So that was what we were talking about. But I want to get back. I want to get back to this. The reason. Okay. Well, in fact, that's kind of what I'm saying. So the reason is so with get. There's these three sections to this lesson. One is explaining to get the people. The next one is, yeah, okay, so now you know how to get people. Well, you've actually got to get the right people if you want to make money. So you've got to get the right people that you can communicate with, that you know how to communicate with, that you understand. And then the last part is get the right people and then sell them the right thing. So then that's about, you know, learning from them and understanding what they want to pay for. And the reason why it takes a long time is because with each one of these things, I'm trying to think of like analogies. Like, I hate the idea that someone could read this and not then deeply understand it and have it as a new engine. And so I'm trying to think of like really good stories and analogies and different ways. So can I give you an example? Read one to you. You can cut it out if you feel it's too long. So this is in the this is basically a story in the level up to get the right people. So what I've done is I've written this story. So I'm saying, okay, this is a you story. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and imagine you've already created a successful product business. What a great feeling. In fact, you've been so successful at building your business that Andrew Warner from the Mixed G Startup podcast has invited you onto his show. He's interviewing you right now. Andrew says, "Hey man, thanks for coming on the show. I've really been looking forward to this interview. I love what you've done with your business. I'm a huge fan. I know it was a long time ago, but if you can recall, what was the most critical decision you made in those early days? What one piece of advice would you give to the wannabe founders listening to this show right now?" You. Yeah, Andrew, it was a long time ago, but there is one thing I remember. I remember feeling really good about picking a market I could reach and sell to. It just gave me such a boost to work with people I already understood. Andrew, oh, interesting. Well, tell us more about that. I want to hear all about it. Tell us in ways that could help our listeners. And this is essentially the lesson here.
All
Well,
right,
and
all right.
this part right here. So, well, Andrew, I'm a very creative person. My passion is to write stories. I just had a hunch that if I sold to other creatives like me, it would make my life easier. Boy, was I right. When I was looking for those first 10 customers, it was super easy to find them because, well, I was already in a Facebook group of writers. When I wrote marketing pages and email copy, I knew what to say. I just imagined what someone would need to say to sell to me. And to be honest, solving a problem for people I liked turned out to be a really good strategy because building a business is hard. And there were a lot of times I might have just thrown in the towel if I didn't have that connection. So, do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
See,
just like it's like I don't know. You got to think of a way to say this thing,
mm-hmm.
and a way that's to say it that sort of feels easy to read, and it just imparts the information without sort of pontificating, as it were.
Yeah, yeah. I guess stories are pretty powerful, like both for helping people remember and also just the impact from it, as opposed to just a paragraph telling people what to do.
Exactly. So I've got like 3 or 4 stories on the page, and trying to make the stories interesting. And I just really want to get the information across. Now, I don't know if what I just read is too much to leave in the show. Feel free to cut it out, but that's why it's
I think
taking a long
it's
time.
I think it's
That's why
fine.
it's taking a long time.
This is our aimless rambling show, so
I know,
it's fine
right?
because
Yeah.
we've often got more stuff to share about what we've done. Do you mind if I go to screen share?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So I wanna go a little bit meta here. I'm gonna share my desktop. Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. So the podcast, you were saying there's no listening growth, and I think there is. Like we're getting.
Oh,
This is
you
just
heard
the
me say that
last.
on texting?
Yeah, I did. This although I also saw a commenter. Actually, I'll show everyone the commenter.
Yeah, he
He
looks
was
really
like,
hard
he
for
was
it.
like, Justin, I couldn't find it. Like,
Yeah,
there's no link anywhere. And
yeah.
then he put up a link. So we have we
But
have
even the
a
link he put
path.
up isn't actually right. But
It's
yeah.
not.
Well, it goes to the YouTube channel, but it doesn't go to
Oh, that's
iTunes.
fine. Every
Yeah.
single YouTube channel or every single YouTube episode, like full episode, has a link to iTunes.
You know,
So
it'd be so cool. Could you imagine if we actually had a website?
I'm
Oh
I'm
my
I'm working
gosh,
on it. I
that
am
would be
actually.
incredible.
So I have made progress there. I've done a fair amount of coding on the Reactor site, and like thing that sucks and that I will probably never do again this way is just that I chose to build on a version 0.4 library with breaking changes like every few weeks, but it's close. I think, fingers crossed, next week I'll have a site out, and then
I
after that
never
I'll.
realized how difficult it was to like have a product, because this is a product, I guess, where you can't say go to reactor.fm or reactor.am or whatever. Like it's
AM is the one that we have.
reactor.am.
Yes.
Like it would be so easy to just be able to say, yeah, it's reactor.am.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
why don't we
the
just do a
iTunes link is
redirect?
what I share. I just share the iTunes link everywhere, and once we have the site up, then it will generate SEO itself because that's where
Why
all the
don't we
show notes
do
will
a
be.
redirect to reactor.am, redirect to whatever, the channel or whatever?
Because I mean, there's no need. Like sending people to the YouTube channel is also good. Like more subscribers there. Like YouTube has its own network effects and flywheel. So
Can I mention a need?
hmm,
One need I have is I'm on texting and I want to tell people where to go, and I don't have anything to say. Where if I could say, hey, go to reactor.am, they type that in, then it
yeah,
redirects. It
yeah.
either shows our website or redirects them to the YouTube or whatever.
To the YouTube. I would, yeah. Okay. I would just say, hey, go to the iTunes link, but Like
Oh,
we could set that up,
okay.
or just like wait a week or two and I'll have the site up because it is very close.
Okay, but you have, I mean, you've been saying that.
They keep updating the library, but I don't care. No, thing is, last video I was like, okay, I'm updating. Now it's version 0.10 point whatever, and this is the last update. So,
So what are you showing me right now? This is like, what is this?
this is okay. This is the last 2 months. This is the listens, and the different colors are people listening to different episodes. So you
Wait.
see, like when a new one comes out, like
So on that, so go back. So on that one.
Mhm.
Oh, really? So that's
yeah.
all the episodes.
So yesterday,
How big can that list grow?
Or a couple days ago, 26 people listened to Everything is Terrible. 4 people listened to My Bank Account Closed During the Pandemic. 3 people listened to Getting Past Flow and Doing the Layer of the Market. So the typical show is getting about 20 views or 20 listens, not on Google Play, not on Spotify, but 20 listens tracked through this, which means they went to iTunes in the first week or two. That's a typical episode. Then over time they get more, and it seems like they max out around 50-ish. Although I expect that'll go up as we get more. The total amount of listening has definitely been increasing. And
Well, still, I didn't get. Well, then again, we don't have an actual active email address that works. Okay.
Oh, that's true.
If you listen to this and you want intro music, send an email to jv@vip.ie. I will create intro music if, let's see, at least 5 people do that. jv@vip.ie. And Mark, you're not allowed to tell any of your friends to do that.
Oh, no. So if you see one from Liam, just throw that one away because he's a fan who found you through me. Sorry, Liam. But we appreciate your support.
No, I know.
Definitely comment
Liam can
once
do
it's
it.
up.
Liam can do it.
Okay.
It's just that you can't actually cajole them into doing
I won't.
it. That's
Yeah,
all I'm saying.
I won't make a video on Alchemist Camp telling him to. But you did just give me an idea, which is the other thing I wanted to show off is I have started making a new kind of video on YouTube. And this is clips. So I made this 59-second clip about using MacVim and why it's great for, why I love it and why it's horrible for screencasting.
And you took it from our show.
Yeah. So I made a bunch of clips out of our show, like the clip where you first talked about doing task flow, like the genesis of that project. A clip about various stuff, like what you think about finding new users, us talking about Flash. So I think those clips are also starting to have a good effect. There's a 2-day lag on YouTube statistics, but you can see our views have been very, very low on YouTube, and with the clips, like they've gone up quite a bit. Like 20 people almost watched that Vim one.
That's cool.
Yes.
Well, Vim one is is much more actionable than the other stuff. So, that kind of stuff is
It's not actionable. All it is like Mark can do stuff with Vim and likes it, but screencasters don't like to watch that. And then you're like, oh, so what do you do? And I was like, I use VS Code because everybody does. And that's all there is to it.
Okay.
But it's a small ask, right? Because like if you're doing a whole, hour-long episode, like that's a big ask of someone to watch that whole video. Whereas if it's just like, oh, let me see how task flow started. It's just a few minutes. I'll watch that.
So wait, our channel got 96 views in the last 28 days?
It did.
That's
and 2 new subscribers.
Actual subscribers? How many subscribers?
Only 12. Yeah.
And we don't even do that thing where we say, smash that like button.
No.
Click the big red subscribe and the bell to get notified.
And also notice that we're not even doing that thing where I make a reasonable thumbnail. Like these are just auto-generated.
Oh, we're not even doing that thing where you pick a title that like is SEO optimized.
I don't think that. I think the optimization on YouTube is actually to make a title more people will click on.
Oh,
And there is an SEO analog of that. Like if you make a site title or a page title that more people who see that in a list of Google search results will click on, then that moves it up the results. So the I think it is kind of good to have your name in this, because at least right now, because people who find it are finding it through you or me, and
okay.
they'll click on it. But as it gets bigger, that may change. Like as it gets bigger, then maybe you do want a one totally unfair trick that marketers hate,
Yeah,
that something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
That's right. That's the way it
anyway,
goes.
that's all I've got to share. So let me.
Yeah. So it's like it's just sort of treading water for me, and just it's just going to take however many weeks it takes to get it done and get it out there, and then start seeing the results. And to be honest, the only reason why I'm doing the boot camp is just to sort of get Nugget into a state where I can then just move back to task flow and really focus on it. So,
I have an idea you're going to hate.
uh-oh.
Is there a minimal slice of the boot camp that you could do, like a pre-boot camp?
Well, there was, but I kind of missed that opportunity. Basically, I could just grab like the because remember it was through working with Matteo, and then he became a Nugget customer, and he's now doing really well, by the way. I am working with a couple of people who are doing interesting stuff that didn't come in through the regular Nugget channels, and they've sort of gone through the first few layers of indie founder level ups, so they know how
Mm-hmm.
to get traffic, they know how to do a bit of marketing, but they haven't quite got to that point where they they're making good revenue. And so I think I might be pretty helpful for those kind of people. So yeah, I've been working with them, and it was as a result of sending him like the 6 or 7 lessons that the whole bootcamp idea
Yeah,
came about.
yeah. So to just push you a little bit harder, like wasn't the motivation for the boot camp that Nugget itself was very detailed and deep in one thing at a time? So you wanted like a shallow starting point that gives you an overview quickly.
Yes,
And
um,
if you get really detailed on the overview pieces and make them,
but it isn't really detailed. It's like
okay, okay.
each it. Let's just say, I mean, I would have thought that really detailed would mean that it would take like 30 minutes to read a lesson or something.
Hmm.
Like each lesson of the boot camp, you can read it in like 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
You know,
Yeah, never mind.
like
That's
like what I just read to you was just like a section of it. I mean, I don't know how long that took. What, like
was that like a
30
whole
seconds?
lesson?
No, that wasn't a whole lesson, but
Okay.
that was like 30 seconds of. I mean, that probably took about, even though I know it felt like an eternity, it probably took about 30 seconds to read it, and that's just like a fifth or something of the lesson. So it's just taking a long time for me to write it, because it's exactly the same way when I design a UI. I mean,
Hmm.
don't you find this, like, to get to simplicity takes a shitload of work, like simplicity is really difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
Like how you've got to think through all the different permutations and go, yeah, this one button does all those things, and you got to go. But even just to get to that button, even just to believe that that single simple button could be used and useful, you've got to go through a lot of stuff first. Do you ever experience that?
Yes, to a degree, although I would throw a huge caveat in there, which is I am not as into design as you are, or at least I haven't had as much experience in it or time put into it. Because when I was working as, like an employed engineer, there was always someone else making those decisions. So I was just making whatever design they had already come up with
Same
into
works for a
a
function.
page. Yeah.
Okay, so the same idea works for a function. So you start off and you just start jamming out code, and you just write spaghetti, you know, and then you sit back and you look at the spaghetti and you go, well, wait a minute, that could actually be elegant if I did this, and then you can kind of get rid of half of it because you make it more elegant, and then you
Mm.
sit back and you're like, you know what? That could actually be more elegant if I did this, and then you cut it down, and then finally you've just got like just a small function.
I do a lot of rewriting
Yeah.
with code, and I think design. I'm sure I would if I put more time and effort into UI. So it's one of those things where I think more mature product needs more of it. And at the very beginning, I was just trying to get a screencast out here and there, and then like my focus has moved to email writing and other kinds of things, and I've got to make a UI pass through all of Alchemist Camp at some point, but haven't hit that yet.
Mm. But yeah, so that's why it takes me a long time, because I start with big concepts and try a big spaghetti, and then just try and refactor it and try and
With
get
your
it
writing.
with the writing, yeah,
Yeah.
and with the design and with code. I'm just not very good at one of my, let me just say, weak points is thinking of the elegant solution as the first one. I'm much better at like a lot of effort at polishing and then getting to an elegant solution. Yeah. So that's sort of where I'm at, and hopefully by this time next week we'll be closer to the review or the release. We'll see.
Yeah. So what are the goals?
Same goal as the last few episodes, to
Launch
get the
it.
bootcamp ready, well, to a state where it can be reviewed. And then once I get it reviewed and get a few people with some kind of weight behind them to say, yes, it's good, then launch it.
Yes. I will try to help you out with that.
Oh, I would appreciate that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my goals are on the health side. I think this may be dangerous, but I'm not going to set any exercise goal at all. I think I've got that to where it's pretty much just self-sustaining.
So how about just goal of like not going down, just staying the same.
Yeah, sure. But I think my main health goal this week is just going to be eating better.
Yeah.
And the way I'll quantify that is I'm going to, let's see, I'm not going to be counting my calories. I'm not going to be doing anything like that. But I'm going to basically make an attempt to cut out all junk food 6 days out of the next 7. Yeah.
Okay.
And junk food I define as processed junk. I wouldn't count like meat or like a whole grain, anything, or water or coffee or anything like that as junk food.
Yeah. So, sure.
Yep.
People know what junk food is. Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, some people are like, that you had a kiwi fruit which is full of sugar. That's junk.
What? That makes no sense.
There are all kinds of beliefs on this, but I'm basically okay. Here's my new definition. Anything that my great grandmother or her equivalent cohort in Taiwan would not have recognized as food, I'm going to call junk food.
Okay, that's good.
That's the health goal, and then on the productivity goal, I'm going to focus on Alchemist Camp. I'm gonna put out 2 videos. One free,
so
which should be the last one. Well, that is going to be the website video.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So
okay, great.
Maybe there will be a few things I've still got to get done on the website, like stuff that's not going to be in the video, like something auth related or setting up chat. But all right. So goal number 3 is get some version of the website launched that includes people being able to create their accounts and log in and leave comments.
Okay. Sweet. Nice. All right. Well, we've been going for a while. I think that we could call it.
Sounds good. So talk to you next week.
Yep. See you then. Ciao.
Later.